Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Military Surplus Firearm Collecting, where I'm just going to kind of go over some basics for people that are just getting into the hobby, or for people that have these firearms but don't really, use them a lot. And then in this video, we're going to be talking about the consideration of ammo availability when you're looking to make a purchase on a military surplus firearm. So now, as I've stated in other videos, military surplus firearms are drastically increasing in price over the past few years due to supply and demand. The supply is getting to be less and less, and the demand is getting to be more and more with the advent of the internet and people that grew up with these on video games and in movies, wanting to get a piece of tangible history. It's just, I'm very familiar with that, and that's a big part of why I got into it, as well as just loving history in general. So today, we're going to be kind of discussing something that should be common sense, but I'm going to give you a little bit of perspective on it and what kind of, influences some of my decision making and influences my friends as well. So, the big thing that a lot of people are deterred from military surplus firearms by is the availability and the cost of ammunition. So, I've got three rather common examples of military surplus firearms that you would find on the market. All three are different calibers, they come from different countries, from different time periods. Well, actually, these are relatively similar, but it's the 30s. Anyway, I digress. So, the top one, we got the standard refurbished Mosin Nagant M9130. It fires the 7.62 by 54 millimeter cartridge. This happens to be a surplus, military surplus cartridge. I think it's Russian or something like that, Bulgarian. Or anyway, it's a surplus round. Went back when you could actually afford to buy them. Now, these rifles are retailing right now for between, $250 to $400, depending on condition and markings and stuff. But generally, you can probably get one for that range, sometimes less, and you should take up that offer. I still think they're overpriced, but that's my opinion. Anyway, so you've got we'll just say $300, right? $300 rifle that fires a round that can be both had surplus wise in the 440 round spam cans like that guy came from, or commercially available. And it's something that might not be available at Walmart, but your local sporting goods stores, there's a good chance that it's going to have some commercial 7.62 by 54 rimmed, especially for hunting rounds like soft points. And so that would be something good for a new surplus collector to do, to get a Mosin Nagant 9130 or any variant that fires a 7.62 by 54 millimeter, and you've got ammo availability that's pretty solid and easily accessible. And it's not really that much more expensive than a lot of other rounds. It used to be a lot cheaper with the surplus, but if you're talking about commercial ammo, it's pretty comparable to other rifle rounds. We're looking at about 50 cents a round. It looks like you can get some cheaper and some more expensive. So the second one, these are, again, I'm in the U.S., so I'm kind of doing this from a U.S. perspective. I apologize if you're living in another country. But the second one, we've got a little bit more pricey rifle, but I'll explain why it might be another good choice and just kind of things. I mean, I'm recommending all of these because I love all of these, but it's just kind of something to think about when you're going to make a purchase. So, say you want to get a piece of World War I and World War II history, U.S. history, and you want to go with the model 1917 here, chambered in 30-06 or 7.62 by 63 millimeter. In the U.S., the 30-06 has been probably one of the most common hunting cartridges, besides the 30-30 Winchester, since the inception of it. It's very commercially available. You can still actually get surplus because many nations use that caliber, that cartridge, and I think some nations are still using it. I don't know if they're still producing it in a surplus capacity. But the ammo availability, you're going to be able to go to Walmart. You're going to go to basically any place that stocks ammunition, and you're going to be able to find 30-06 to feed this. Now, the consideration is, over time, you got to kind of factor in the price and the cost and the value of the rifle. So these used to be, $500, $600. They're kind of creeping up to the $700, $800 range. But if you want to trade that cost off for the availability of getting ammunition, that's, something that you have to consider. So yeah, I mean, again, this is probably going to be about 50 cents, sometimes a little bit more. I think some places are actually charging a little bit more for 30-06 now, but we'll just say as a baseline around 50 cents a round. So it's comparable to the 7.62 by 54 rimmed, and they're ballistically very similar too. So if you actually want to use this for hunting, like I do when I do hunt, I use military surplus. It's available. It's really available and super popular in the United States. So that's the same thing with like a 7.62 NATO or 308. Some weapons can fire both. I forgot exactly which ones those are. I'll make another video on that. But, that's the same kind of thing. There are surplus firearms in 308, which is another really common hunting round in the United States. and it's a NATO round, so a lot of countries use it, and it's manufactured surplus-wise. But I didn't have enough room to put all the guns that I wanted to talk about. Now we're going to get into the kind of more obscure stuff, and I'm just going to talk about that, and I'll wrap the video up for you guys. So this is the 1891 Argentine Mauser, which is one of my favorite Mauser rifles. It just looks really nice. It's a beautiful rifle. You can see that right there. Yep, look at that. Just a beautiful, elegant piece. The camera stand doesn't want to turn. Okay, well, anyway, you've seen it in other videos. Anyway, so this fires the 7.65 by 53 millimeter, which is a Mauser cartridge that was from the early 1890s, actually late, I think it's, 1889, the Belgian Mauser uses that. So that was a cartridge that was developed in conjunction with the 7 millimeter Mauser. Now, the issue is, 30, 40 years ago, this stuff was made commercially because it was a really, really super common hunting caliber. These things were cut down by companies in the thousands and made into sporting rifles. Therefore, people produced the 7.65 by 53 to feed these rifles, and it was a cheap option at that time. Now, in recent years, there are only a few companies that actually manufacture this cartridge, and Pretty Partisan from Serbia, or I think they're in Serbia, actually is one of those companies that's more affordable. Now, there are hunting rounds, like Hornady makes basically every caliber, but you're going to pay for that, it's a hunting cartridge. Now, if you just want to get the Full Metal Jacket 174 grain like this, just to go out and kind of see what it would handle like with an original surplus load, PPU is your choice. Now, this is where the ammo availability kind of starts to suck. So, just like 7mm or even 8mm is getting recently, all these kind of obscure calibers that are, haven't been really widely popular in the shooting community for years, or a hunting community rather, sorry, they're getting a lot harder to find. There are places online, like I said, I know you never give up your best fishing spot or whatever, but I encourage people to shop at SG Ammo. It's one of my favorite mom and pop shop companies that sells ammunition online. They're really good and their prices are reasonable. But you have to know where to get this ammunition. I don't even think you could go to a sporting goods store and they would have 7.65 by 53 in stock or even know what it was. So you start running into a problem. These rifles too, if you want to get one that doesn't have the crest, these things can be had for $300 to $400. They're excellent shooters. They're a nice Mauser rifle, but you've got that trade-off of, my ammo availability, and it's a little bit more expensive because there's less of it. So you're looking at around 75 cents a round, so there's an ammo increase. However, the trade-off for the historical standpoint is you get to shoot a rifle that was made before 1898. So it's an antique. You can buy this without an FFL. You just have to be 18, and then it has to be legal in your area. And then you can shoot a center fire cartridge out of it. It's an awesome thing with the antiques. So there's trade-offs for everything. My suggestion is that if you're starting out, I would go with something more along the lines of the Mosin Nagant 9130, something in 7.62 or 308 rather, or something like that. 7.62 NATO ammo is available online as well, and you can get it in a lot of places. They sell 308. So anyway, get something common in a common caliber like 7.62 by 39. I should have had the SKS here. That was a bad example. That was my bad. Anyway, SKS is another really good option. The ammo is very readily available. 7.62 by 39 is very popular for a lot of reasons in the United States. So yeah, that would be my advice and kind of my pro tip. Well, I'm not a pro, but you know what I mean. For beginning collectors. And even if you're kind of more of an intermediate or advanced collector, you'll understand this, and I think you'll agree with me on this, that beginners should probably start with something that's more common so you can actually get experience and start shooting these, and then you know what to look for. So it'll be a little bit easier on you in the long run, but if you like looking for obscure stuff and you know where to go, little hidey holes on the internet, go for it. Get something like the Argentine Mauser or Lebel 1886-93 if you can find one anymore, or a Berthier, something like that, K31. Yeah. So anyway, there's countless examples. I just decided to use these three. They were the first guns that I looked at and pulled, so using it as an example. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know that went a lot of it longer than I anticipated, but just kind of wanted to drive the point home, just kind of compare and contrast the cost of the rifles themselves, the ammunition, and the availability. So thanks for watching, everybody. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting my work. You can do that through Patreon, which the link is in the description. It's $1 a month, $5 a month or more gets you access to my Discord server, which is actually pretty fun, I think. And it helps support the channel. Helps me be able to afford to get historical items like helmets and rifles and pistols and ammunition stuff to give you educational videos on things from the past. We do a lot of ballistic tests, if you haven't noticed that, helmets, and eventually want to get into body armor. And yeah, anyway, it helps support the channel. I fund a lot of it out of pocket, but I can't afford to go as far as I have been the past few years. So Patreon's really been helping with that lately. Anyway, if you want to do that, thank you. If you can't, I understand. I completely do, and I really just appreciate you watching. So we'll wrap this up finally. Sorry this went so long. And I'll see you on the next episode of Military Surplus Firearm Collecting.